This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Danilo's free. He goes to Gibbs-White. Edge of the box. Foley. Yes! Great goal! What a hit from Arena! Gibbs-White! They've only gone and done it again! Forest back in the lead. Rewarded Gibbs-White. Oh, what he scores! And the City ground goes ballistic! Forest are in the Premier League!
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Red Side of the Trent, here to preview the Liverpool game as Forest head to Anfield. And as I mistakenly have said and probably quote tweeted out on Twitter that we haven't beaten them at Anfield since 1978. That was actually incorrect. We have not beaten them since 1969. It's even worse stat than I actually realised. Joining me as ever is Christian Brown and Reese Lane. No Lee Clark, but we do have some comments and things to go through from Lee as well. Christian, first of all, how are you?
All good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, really, really well. We'll talk about Morgan Gibbs-White first of all, bearing you are wearing the England shirt out of the three of us. Very proud moment. I think every single Forest fan kind of took the role of being a parent on Twitter, being very proud of Morgan being the first player to represent England from a Forest team since 1997. How pleased are you about it all?
Yeah, exceptionally. I think, as I said before, it's been so well deserved. He should have been called up to preliminary squad, in my opinion, over Madison. Again, that just reeked of Southgate, but never mind. But obviously, like new broom, clean sweep sort of thing. And yeah, it's very good. Obviously, very pleased for Angel Gomez as well, for he played really well against Ireland when he came on. But it was good to see Gibbs-White just show what we all know and have seen him do for the last 2 years, basically. Like that outside of the ball flick down the right wing, for example, for Sacco, he should have got an assist flat, really. And yeah, it was just good. It was just good to see him play well, and hopefully it's the first of many, and hopefully he plays again tonight. And yeah, it's quite weird, isn't it, having an England international that isn't a loanee, for example. Like if Ward-Prowse gets in again this season, for example, which is theoretically possible. Obviously, it's like, oh, he's still West Ham's player. It was like when Henderson was at our place as well. It was like, oh, okay, it's nice, but it's not our player sort of thing. And having that with Gibbs-White's fantastic, and he thoroughly deserves it as well. Yeah.
Reese, how are you, first of all? Back from sunny Italy into rainy England?
Yeah, well, I'm good aside from that. I'm not
going to lie,
I'm delighted I'm not going to lie and say I'm delighted to be home, because I'm not. But yeah, life carries on, doesn't it?
It does. Thoughts on Gibbs-White? Obviously, Christian said it deserved. Lots of people are obviously going to kind of be a little bit bitter and be like, oh, he's cards with his mate sort of thing. But come on, He's got nearly 40 goal contributions in the last 2 seasons for a team that struggled.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is a tiny element to that in the sense that he's going to call some players up from the under-21s, isn't he? You saw that with Southgate. You put an under-21s manager in the dugout, the senior team. Lord has it, under-21 players are going to get called up, and that's what happened. But he's also deserving of that shot as well. I'm speaking from someone who equally loves supporting England and Forest in equal measure. I know people get into this club and country nonsense, but for me, it's just an equal playing field. I don't know why you can't feel about it that way. Probably one of the proudest moments since getting back to the Premier League for Forest as a supporter, just seeing a Forest player, like Christian said, a permanent Forest player, pull on the Three Lions shirt. Yeah, really proud. Even in the conversation to be the proudest, because for a certain generation of fans, the older fans, it would have been a staple diet, wouldn't it, for them? When we had the likes of Pearce and Steve Hodge and Des Walker and Viv Anderson to go back further, Trevor Francis, etc. But for like us guys of our generation, it's like you said, Adam, not something we'd seen since the late 90s, and yeah, it's all new to us, isn't it, seeing him in a Forest player in England shirt. And like Christian said as well, it's a shame Saka didn't took that one in, because he was worthy of an assist, that pass. It's a good save, to be fair, from Kelleher. But yeah, delighted to see him in, and hopefully we'll see some more minutes from him tonight. Although I do think he's going to be from the bench.
Yeah, I mean, as we do record this, obviously for any audio listeners, we are recording on the day that England play Finland in the Nations League. I personally think that Gibbs-White, Angel Gomez, and like Levi Colwell and all that have also been called up. And I know it's a lesser competition. That's how people will look at the under-21s Euros, but it was a success. And Lee Carsley's worked with them players before. Gibbs-White was captain in that team. I kind of think that they kind of go hand in hand. He knows a lot of them players already. Madueke was there, Anthony Gordon, Cole Palmer obviously pulled out, but he knows him. So it's good. Like, I think those sort of players deserve the kind of call up in that respect. They deserve a chance, especially in these games where there is a lot less pressure, and England should really breeze that group. I think Greece is the other team, isn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, they should breeze it. He created the second most chances in the 15 minutes he played, so not a bad stat to have. And someone else reported that there's no add-ons going to Wolves in the transfer fee for him getting an England call up. So what business we've made there? I tip my hat off to him. But another big deal, obviously, guys, this week is that we are heading to Anfield this week, a stadium where I actually said we've not beaten them since 1969. Last season, we had a goal, a point seduction, as you called him, Christian, didn't you, in Matt Turner last season, where we lost 3-0 eventually. Do you think it will be a little bit different this time?
I mean, I'm going, so I hope so.
Well, we're all going. All three of us are going.
I don't want to see us lose 3-0, ideally. But it's going to be tough. Like, I mean, we all know it's going to be tough. I'd like to think we'll be a bit more disciplined going there this year. What really, if you look at the goals we've conceded at Anfield in the last 2 seasons, they've all come from mistakes. Like, that's generally how the teams like Liverpool get you. The elite teams will get you like that. So if we can be a bit more disciplined and structured and avoid making mistakes, then, you know, there is a chance that we might be able to leave with something. Of course there is. But it's just, you know, it's not to blow smoke up their arse, of course, but because neither me or Reece fancy doing that particularly. But they are an exceptional side, and you can generally, it says a lot about their home form that you can generally remember the stray incidents they've lost, like when they lost to Leeds, for example, on the Jesse March 1-0, and when they lost to Atletico Madrid in brilliant fashion, when obviously Marassa just before COVID. So, you know, they very rarely lost at home under Klopp. Obviously, they had that weird run during COVID. I think they lost like 6 games in a row, didn't they? I remember Fulham winning there, but in front of no fans. But you know, there's a reason why they are as successful as they are, and that's because they pretty much never get defeated at home. So it's going to be very tough. Obviously, they haven't conceded a goal yet this season on the Arnie slot, so that's something else to factor in. But it's a game of football, and if we go there and stick to our game plan and are disciplined and play to our full capacity, yeah, of course we can turn up and maybe get a stray result. Who knows?
Yeah, you never know. Stranger things happen in football. Reece, in the first 3 games that you might have seen of Liverpool, I know we probably all watched them against Ipswich, and then anything that we could have seen against Man United. Have you seen any weaknesses?
Watch.
Yeah, it was funny. I mean, any kind of weakness that you saw in any of those games where you think we might actually get a little bit of joy?
Yeah, well, the funny thing is, I didn't watch the United game because I was on holiday. So I did see him a bit against Ipswich. We was in Trent Nav at the time, one before the Bournemouth game. So seeing bits and bobs, I thought they dealt with that pretty well. It was going to be not tough for a side like Liverpool, but it could be a bit of a banana skin, couldn't it, on opening day, going to a newly promoted side as they did with us in the first season and getting beat. So they managed that pretty well. The Brentford game, I watched a bit of that again. You know, pretty much in control, and they saw the game off, and then they've gone to Manchester United. It was no surprise to me they went to Manchester United and beat them, because Manchester United are just, I mean, for God, this is a decade, must be a decade plus now, just a very average side, aren't it, for Manchester, poor side for Manchester United's levels. So, yeah, they've started really well. You know, they were, you know, again, I'm not going to be like Christian. I'm not going to blow smoke at the backside because I don't want to, but they're a formidable side. In my opinion, probably the second biggest club in the country behind United. So we were chatting about this one with our away record there in the week. saying we're not won there since 1969. There's probably teams who are in the same boat as us who haven't ever really done anything at Anfield. It is their fortress, so it's gonna be tough. We know that is the realistic theory, really. And like Christian said, last year it was just mistakes were just punished viciously, really. The Murillo won the first goal. They broke on us so quickly. I think it was Nunez's shot, wanted to turn and pushed it out, and there was Jota on hand to score his yearly goal past us. And the second one, I think, if I believe correctly, was Sangare, didn't track a runner. It then gets put across, flicked in by Nunez at the near post. And then the third one, I mean, Matt Turner comes out. It leaves Toffolo in a mess with, a really good player, Mo Salah, breathing down the neck, and that just ended up in a mess. And so, really, we need to just go there and be solid and as we can. And the joy we're going to get is probably on the counter attack, which, to be fair, we've got players in our team who suit that style going forward. So we go there in hope. I'd say probably more than expectation, being realistic, as much as I hate to say it, but we'll have to see, because you've got to take every game. I know you titled the pod "Had Nothing to Lose." You've got to try and get results out of any game possible. We've seen that since we've got back to the Prem. You look at the first season, we beat Liverpool at home. Last season, we beat Chelsea away. Games you probably don't expect to get points from, but we have. Whereas teams like, Bournemouth and Wolves, for this season example, at home, where you're probably looking at them, as Elliot likes to say, a winnable game, we haven't beaten them. So, you take every game as it comes, and we'll see what we can do come Saturday.
Yeah. Christian, do you take any positives out of our first 3 games that could go into this one in terms of, like, maybe Liverpool aren't going to really look at us and go, "Oh, we've got nothing to fear. It should be 3 points in the bag." But maybe that is something that does play into our hands, that little bit of complacency.
They won't be complacent. They won't be complacent.
I just want to hope.
But I've seen enough to think that we'll make them work for it if they are to win. I think that we've looked very, very disciplined. Not so much in the Wolves game. I think that was a bit of an anomaly. But against Southampton and Bournemouth especially, we looked very tight defensively as a unit. And like I said before, I think that mistake that Toffolo makes for the Bournemouth goal, I don't think that happens later on during the season. It's probably just a bit of first game rust that doesn't really, it's just one of those things. But so yeah, I think I've seen enough. I think obviously we've generally limited teams to next to nothing, really. We look at the goals we conceded, like we're looking at a mistake and an absolute screamer from Bellegarde. So, it's not like we're getting carved open and Sales is making save after save after save or anything like that. Generally speaking, the only time we see Sales is him picking the ball out the back of the net, unfortunately. So, well, that's a good sign. That's a sign that, we're doing things the right way again. It's a sign that we're becoming more structurally sound. Obviously, we've all seen the stats about Sangare. I know obviously divides opinion, but he's doing his job. He's getting his tackles in. He's getting his interceptions in. He's getting his blocks in. And that's helping the defensive result. Milenkovic has been a massive addition to that back four. Just very calmly goes about his business, heads everything away. So yeah, I think the only real concern for me, or question for me, really would be what fullbacks do we play at Anfield, because obviously Williams especially struggled in the last 20 minutes against Wolves. And I know can't complete 90 minutes, it seems, without getting knackered. So that'll be the interesting thing for me. But I think generally, yeah, there's no reason why we can't go down and frustrate them for a good period of game. And that'll probably be the game plan. Try and frustrate them, keep them at 0-0 for an hour, 65, 70 minutes, like we were doing against Arsenal at home before the points deduction decided to kick a goal in for them. And then see what you can do in the last 20 minutes. Like maybe you throw on some attacking players and try and change the game, swing the game your way, because you never know. But yeah, I think I've seen enough to suggest that that's definitely a possibility. So, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the first 3 games, like statistically, we're with lots of green shoots. I think we're in the top 5 for shots on goal, shots on target, touches in penalty boxes. Us and Liverpool are actually second and third for lowest XG conceded. So
0-0 draw. So shake hands now.
Yeah, shake hands now. 0-0. Yeah, great. I mean, and I think we've looked generally, apart from the Bournemouth disallowed goal, we've generally looked solid, a lot more solid from set pieces, though. Yes. I do worry about zonal marking. I hate it. Yeah, I absolutely hate it. But as long as Milenkovic is going to run and head the ball away, I don't care. it's going to be interesting with our team selection, like you actually anchored into. And Reece, so you've not submitted a team because you found it really difficult to do this. So you're kind of going to be like the anchor man of this conversation, I think. And I'm going to put Lee's up first because he's not here, so we can all argue and slag him off to the hell because he can't defend himself. So this is Lee's team. So for the audio listeners, he's gone for a 3-5-2, as I'm going to call it, with Sangari kind of just dropping in as the deep line midfielder. So he's got Sells, Milenkovic, Murillo, Morato, Sangari in the centre defensive midfield position, Olarena, Alex Moreno as the wing backs, Anderson, Gibbs-White, Alanga up top with Taiwo Awunyi. So Reece, what do you make of that team? I know it's hard because Lee's not here to argue with you, but I might try and argue with you.
Well, can you put it back on the screen so I can? Because if not, I'll forget it, mate. Well, I mean, starting with the goalkeeper. I mean, this has been a topic of conversation on social media. I think when we brought Sells in last season, we just needed a calm hand in goal, didn't we? And I thought Sells did that perfectly, because when we had Turner in goal, every time it went back to him, let's be honest, the whole crowd's heart was in your mouth. The players on the pitch didn't want to pass back to him. I think we did an example last year of Nico Williams where he had an easy pass back to him and he decided to turn the other way. And so Sells come in and did well, I thought, last season. Now, going forward as a long-term, number one, is Sells the answer? I'd say I'd lean probably towards no. So obviously you brought in Miguel in the summer, who's a bit of an unknown quantity really, but we've seen him in the League Cup stuttering start, but then he did really well. So is there going to become a point where we kind of roll the dice with Miguel and get him in and see how he goes? I don't know whether the club think he's up to that yet or not, but that's fair enough to have Sells in goal. See, I would have had Willy Bolly in there, but I've seen he's picked up an injury, hasn't he? A calf injury. So you don't know whether he's now going to be out. I know Sangari also pulled out of Ivory Coast's qualification, so he might be an injury dart. Like we said with Viner, great for 60 minutes, up and down, isn't he? But then he kind of just hits that wall and he can't get that 90, which is quite frustrating. So is Lee wanting Alanga and Taiwo up front, is he? Rather than Gibbs-White and Alanga behind Taiwo?
Well, he didn't really specify, but I think he just said he needed to get Alanga in there for pace, which I get. I completely understand, and I think at least like if the ball goes up to a Woodney,
so I'd imagine he'd want more of like a 5-2-2-1 then. So Sangari and Anderson is your CMs, kind of like Gibbs-White, who's going to float towards the wing a little bit, and Alanga towards the other wing, and Taiwo through the middle. Taiwo is an interesting one, because if Taiwo's fit and firing, he's a shoo-in for me Saturday because of his physicality. We saw that in the first season. We come back up. I remember Jurgen Klopp going absolutely ballistic at Kunate because he kept getting into a physical battle with him, because you're going to have to play on the other centre half because you're not going to get much change out of Van Dijk, are you? So
no.
It's just that unfortunately Taiwo's, like you said, Adam, looks like he's running with someone on his back at the minutes, and Chris Wood's obviously started the season pretty well. So that's a debate in that one. That's why I couldn't pick a teammate. There's so many choices for Nuno to make, which is a nice thing to have, because when you finished 17th last season, if you could pick a team this season, it'd be nailed on. You'd be tiny bit concerned in a way, because you've not got them options. Whereas now we've got so many options, and that's why, like I said, I just couldn't pick one. I couldn't even pick a formation because I was undecided, because there's that many options. So, some tough decisions for Nuno. I'm interested to see what we go with.
Should have named the title of the pod "Great Headaches" instead, maybe. Christian, any thoughts on this one from Lee?
I think it's certainly a bold formation, but yeah, I wouldn't be overly against it, to be fair. But I kind of see, obviously, you have Alanga sort of fizzing off Taiwo, wouldn't you? And obviously, look at the counter, just knock it down a channel and have him running along onto it. I think Lee put in our chat, didn't he, that Wood's meant to be back from international duty on Friday, isn't he? I think, or something like that.
Yeah, so that's really late.
that probably will mean
I know
Taiwo will
Nigeria
start.
played today for their last game.
But,
Taiwo come on in last minute.
We didn't put anything
Against Rwanda, they drew 0-0.
God.
I mean, Christian, we'll put yours on screen. So you've gone for what Nuno's basically stuck with throughout the 3 games we've played this season so far. So what's made you want to stick with that and not change? Whereas like a lot of people obviously on Twitter or Facebook or wherever have obviously the fear kind of gets into them and go, right, we must shut up shop. But you've kind of gone, no, let's just play to our strengths.
I think, yeah, like I said, I don't think there's been that much cause for concern, really. I mean, if you look at both goals in isolation that we've conceded, one's a mistake and one is a wonder goal, really. So it's nothing's really broken enough yet for it to be changed. If that makes sense. So, yeah. But then, and also, like, I think Bolly being out as well. Obviously, I did this team before. I saw Bolly had a calf injury, but I don't think he'd throw Morato in for his debut at Anfield. I don't think, and I think he probably wouldn't risk playing Andy O either. So, realistically, he's gonna be forward at back. So, yeah, and I just think that Moreno looked really good against Newcastle. I think that weirdly, actually, if we are to play Hudson-Odoi, Liverpool might not be a team that put 3 on him, as we've noticed other teams doing this season, because they'll be more focused on their own attackers. So that could actually work out quite well potentially on the counter attack. But yeah, obviously we all know if it'll be more of a 4-5-1 and Wood sort of, or it might not be Wood, it'll be Taiwo, whoever the striker is, sort of just holding his back to goal and hoping for the best when the ball comes to him. But yeah, I mean that's what I think we'll go for. I equally wouldn't be shocked if we did go 3-4-3. There's some big decisions in centre mid about what's to be the case, though. Because I mean, do you drop Anderson? Do you drop Sangare? Do you drop Gibbs-White? I mean, that's why Nuno gets paid the big bucks, I guess.
I mean, it's really interesting for you to pick Anderson, because obviously at the start of the season when we signed him, you had your big reservations about him, and he's won Player of the Month, albeit 3 games /4 with the Newcastle game, which is hard to kind of be like overly, like he's been really good. But I've been really impressed with him. Have you changed your mind a little bit on him?
Yeah, I mean he's been good, and there's no disputing that he's been very good. But obviously, I'm not going to get carried away after 3 games. We've seen Jojo Shelby had a good 3 games at Forest before it went downhill for him. So, Matt Turner, we had fans saying Matt Turner was better than Dean Henderson after 3 games at Forest, and that went spectacularly well. But so obviously, it's only 3 games. It's been a good start though. Can't dispute that. I think my main reservation was the fee and the fact that he hadn't really contributed anything in terms of goals or assists at Newcastle, despite playing nearly 50 odd games. I think again that's still very strange. But no, he looks a very good player. He's effectively £15 million signing when you take into account Lacademus' fee. So really, yeah, there's a lot to like. So long may it continue, because although you have to change the flag though, because I think he's committed for England now.
Yeah. Well, this is on the app. I'd not changed it anyway. I think one thing with this formation, and I think it relies on Hudson-Odoi being a little bit more disciplined, because Trent's going to want to come inside and kind of occupy a central midfield position and pick the ball up and play long diags, which I got so angry at him the other day watching the England game. I was like just trying it every single time. And I think this is where like the Allareda Nico Williams thing comes into it, because of what we said about him last week against Wolves, where he got caught out so quickly. Luis Diaz on the shoulder of Nico Williams and the diag over his shoulder. It's bound to happen, and he will get caught out. Unfortunately, it's just Nico's kryptonite, it seems.
I think that's one of the reasons why I wouldn't play Williams, to be honest.
Yeah,
because you're asking for trouble. Who would be running in behind? Would it be Gakpo? Would it be
Diaz, won't it?
Or Chiesa for his debut? Who knows? Take your pick. Like that's what the ball will be, and it will just catch him out every time. I mean, he was a bit better at it against Wolves, especially in the first half, but that last 20 minutes was seriously concerning. Like,
I think what I do like as well though is if we do play Moreno, and I think your point about Hudson-Odoi maybe getting a little bit more space because he might not get doubled up on or tripled up on, it gives us a bit more space there. And Callum's been good for progressive carries. He just needs to, I don't know, have that a little bit more cutting edge. I think I know he got the kind of assist against Southampton, but you just want to see a bit more from him because we've got such high expectations for him, I guess.
It's the variation into it with Hudson-Odoi because we all and teams know it as well. I harp this a few times. Everton afforded it superbly in the game last season at theirs, apart from when they brought him down, but that's a different discussion. But everyone knows he's going to chop back into that right foot and chop inside. He's got to try and go down the line more, and just some variation and probably get that ball in a bit more, because you can't really like Hudson-Odoi, but you can't become just kind of, again, sounds a bit harsher to him, but kind of a one-trick pony. I'm always going to. I know you're probably going to fire back at me. Ian Robin did it for years, but
he was
you know what I mean.
He's a different level though, wasn't he, Ian Robin?
Oh yeah,
so.
he was superb. I mean, when it comes off like it did, I think in the Southampton game, once he got it away once and the keeper made a save, but better sides are going to suss that out and stop it. So if he can bring that variation into his game a bit more, that'd be brilliant for us.
Yeah. Well, I've gone for the devil's advocate of teams because I've got James Ward-Prowse in my team. Someone in the comments asked where no one picked James Ward-Prowse. I have picked him, and purely because I just think set pieces could be an absolute huge weapon in this game if we can get there. So I've gone for Sells, Milenkovic, Murillo, Morato, Sangare, Ward-Prowse, Ola Aina, Alex Moreno, Gibbs-White, Anderson, Taiwo, Awunyi, and it's a big risk because I've sacrificed pace on the wings. Two skillful wingers, pacey wingers. I've left out on the bench and kind of I've gone for the opposite kind of thing. I don't know what you guys think. I'll start with you, Christian.
I don't mind that team, FIFA. I think that looks pretty good. I mean, I'd be interested to see how Ward-Prowse gets on. I think obviously you've got the energy there all around, really. I mean, you've basically got 4 midfielders. it really will be like a 3-6-1, basically. Like you have a Craig Levine's 4-6-0 with Scotland back in the day. He's like not far off that. But no, I like it. I mean, there's not a lot of space for people to play through. They will obviously end up looking at Trent to basically try and pick a lot through there. But if Milenkovic is just roaming over and just battering everything clear, you won't get anything through anyway. So yeah, I'm not overly mad at that team.
Reece?
To be honest, Adam, that is out of 3 what I've seen. That is a team I probably like the most. I do agree with Christian in terms of Morato. Is he going to chuck him in at Anfield as his debut? But I know the older generation of fans will be like, well, Cloughie did that with Roy Keane, so be good enough and all that. But yeah, I mean, again, I agree with you. I don't think James Ward-Prowse would have signed for us on loan because I believe he turned down Southampton to come to us. I don't think he would have come on loan here if he's not kind of got a bit of guarantee about his game time. He's not going to come here, is he, and want to sit on the bench. He had a really good season with West Ham last year, finishing the top 10. So I'd imagine he'd probably in this month will be probably a starter in the team. Yeah, I think that team's probably the one I'd lean towards, definitely.
It's just how you get him in there. But he did score. What was it? He got 18 goal contributions last season. Did he score a free kick for West Ham last season?
No, he didn't. No.
So he was scoring goals from open play. So he can obviously do that role, that box to box role. Yeah. And I think my thinking is if we can win possession and Murillo can kind of almost step into midfield. I don't know if he will or not, because I think against City we did that quite well, where we engaged and pressed quite well and then stepped in and kind of got a lot of joy. And I'm wondering if we can get that against Liverpool, but their front three are very, very flexible and fluid, aren't they?
I guess a positive as well is, I'm guessing Luis Diaz has been away with Colombia playing qualifiers. So obviously he'll have a long trip home, as will Alexis McAllister, as will Alisson. If them two's gone, I'm guessing they will have done. So, they might think, well, actually, we might not chuck them in because with no disrespect to kind of us, they'll think, well, it's Forest at home. We should have enough to kind of beat them anyway, really. But so we'll see. I mean, your team there, Adam, if we could, have that team on, let's say, for an hour and the game's still, I don't know, it's 0-0 or they're 1-0 up, and then you can kind of bring on some pace. You might, if it is 0-0, you might even nick it. But, wishful thinking. Yeah, at the end of the day, for the 3,000 of us or so who's going up there, you're going up there in in that hope that we can actually do something like Crystal Palace did it last year, didn't they? They won 1-0 there, if I remember correctly. So
Yeah, they did.
yeah, you never know. The first season we should have got a result. We just, scored obviously the 2 goals, Williams and Gibbs-White. We just defended like clowns, didn't we, for their goals?
Which I think all set pieces, weren't they?
Yeah, I think Jota scored one, and there was no one within like 5 yards of him
That was
being
awful.
marked, just hooking it in, and everyone was like looking at each other. So
Don't forget Johnson hitting the bar as well at 3-2. That was really
Yeah.
unlucky. We sort of
Yeah.
dinked Alisson. Yeah.
yeah,
Someone's mentioned it in the comments they play AC Milan Tuesday night. But I can't. I just think that Liverpool have got a big squad to use. I wouldn't be surprised if, like you say, Reece, with like players away in South America, they've got the likes of Gakpo and people like
Yeah.
that they can bring on, and Chiesa's obviously coming in last
Yeah,
minute in the window as well. So
I mean, if you look at their front three, I mean, Gakpo, Jota, and Chiesa is probably their second choice front
yeah,
three,
it's not bad.
which is terrifying, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
Like,
very, very underrated, Diego Jota. As I now say
Yeah.
this, because he always scores.
he
past
started as their
good
central
player.
striker this season.
well, if
Mhm.
you call Nunes their second choice, they're still a
Yeah.
80 million pound striker. That's
Well,
Yeah.
he's another one who'd been away. He'll be away with
Uruguay,
Uruguay,
yeah.
won't he? So yeah.
I've put a question like, how do we stop Liverpool? And I think it is just like trying to frustrate them for as long as possible, is it not,
Of course
Reece?
it is. Yeah, same against any of the big teams, isn't it? Really. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, even when we beat them with Cooper 1-0, we just suffocated the space, gave them nothing, and then got very fortunate and hit them with a free kick. So, it's just about trying to contain them as best you can and frustrate them, and just trying to make the most of your chances when they come.
Yeah, and you just gotta lure them into desperation, haven't you? Because the more the longer it goes, say if the game is 0-0 or like it was ours in the first season with 1-0 up, they're just going to commit more and more bodies, and that's when you got to look to try and get in behind with his pace. We had to be fair, the win in the first season, the 1-0, we had quite a lot of chances in that game. I think Ryan Yates Alisson made a really good save from Yatesy. I think Lingard went through.
They did.
I'm feeling there was another chance as well in that game, whereas they only really created stuff when they brought Trent on, didn't they? And he started whipping
set pieces, like Van Dijk, especially.
Started whipping balls into the box. There was one the other night for the England-Ireland game. It come out to Trent on the wing. He didn't even look, and he whipped the cross in straight on Harry Kane's head. And Kane should have scored, headed it over. Didn't even look. It was straight on his head, and he's like, "What? Are you like? What a cross that is!" So, hopefully Milenkovic can get his head on them.
Yeah, that would be nice. I think we've kind of like nailed all the points, really. I think that's how we've got to approach it. And I think with Nuno, I do get that element that we will step onto Liverpool. I've got that feeling that at times we will pick our moments. I mean, we've looked better in the press, but I think it's been measured rather than been one headless chicken and then no one else follows and kind of commits as a team. I think as a team we've been pretty good at it. Southampton away was excellent, I thought, with it.
If you do that against the top teams where you basically headless chicken press will pop it round you, you're in trouble. You've seen that with when Murillo got caught last season on the ball. They literally sprung 4 or 5 players on us, and in the end they had a player left over to tap it in the net in Jota because Turner pushed it out into the middle and we were just caught out. So you've got to pick your moments. That's what Steve used to say, didn't he? Steve Cooper. He said it was about picking your moments against these sort of sides, and that is the reality. Yeah. We've got to pick his moments when to, do damage from an attacking point of view from us.
Yeah, well, weirdly, Liverpool haven't been playing with a holding midfielder, so hopefully Gibbs-White can kind of exploit that, and we can exploit that. I mean, if Sangare can win tackles, poke a few balls through, and we get at them quick. You just never know, because
that's if he's
Trent will wander away from right back. I tell you that now, he will. So yeah, we'll get to some scores and we can go and watch the England game. So Lee Clark has said he says Hart says 0-0, Liverpool 2-0. Sadly, he reckons though with his head. So Reece, first of all,
yeah, I'd have to agree with Lee. I mean, being a betting man, if someone said here's a grand, I wouldn't be sticking it on anything else but a Liverpool win because they're going to be rightly the favourites. Unfortunately, that's the reality. But yeah, my head says they're going to go and win, but my heart goes in hope that we can get any kind of result really, because let's be frank, I don't want to sound downbeat, but any result for us there, whether it's even if it was a point, is a superb result against the Sky Six, as we say. So yeah, hopefully we can go up there, and we don't as well. Something I think we've done quite well since probably the first season is we've not been on the end of a lot of thrashings. I know we had the Fulham one last season, but I don't think we've been thrashed, have we, under Nuno, really?
No,
I don't think. I can't remember. So we
No,
don't want to
not
kind of
at
go
all.
back to that state as well. I know under Steve we had quite a few thrashings in with Fulham, City, Arsenal, just a few to remember.
West Ham.
Yeah, West Ham. Jesus, Leicester, Blackpool in the cup.
Yeah.
So we don't want to kind of get back to them stages as well, don't we? For us, it's just about going up there, being tight, looking good on the counter, trying to hurt Liverpool, staying tight, and then you kind of see how the game goes, don't you? If it's after an hour we're still in the game at 0-0, you think, oh, maybe we can make some change to try and nick this, but we'll have to see where it goes come Saturday.
Definitely. Christian?
I kind of pretty much bang on agree with Lee. I think Hart is saying we can dig in and get a 0-0 draw. Head saying they're probably going to score in 15 minutes and then pick us out while we're trying to chase the game, basically, and win 2-0. But it's a football match. You never know. We've got players that can win a game. Just have to hope that everything falls in our favour. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll go with that.
Fair enough. I've got quite a lot of hope. I'm the optimist, I feel like, a lot of the time. I mean, I always have going with blind hope. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but I think I do. I've got a good feeling. I think we'll lose, but I think it'll be a spirited loss, and I think we'll lose probably 2-1. I do think we might score because I just think we've created so many chances this season. I just think we're going to get one from somewhere, whether it's a set piece or a moment of brilliance. I think we've got players who are in pretty good form, I would say. Gibbs-White's going to be brimming with confidence after this week, obviously getting his England cap. So I've just got a good feeling we'll give him a good go. I think we'll be better than Man United were, at least. I mean, that's not going to be very hard, but
the way that honestly, if our midfield plays like Mainu and Casemiro do, I'm going home. Like it will be 6-0 down before our time.
Yeah, I think I don't think even the staunchest Sangari defenders could defend him if he played like Casemiro did last weekend.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, no, I've just got a good feeling. So yeah, if we get a draw, we could somehow just anything would be brilliant. I mean, I think that would be the upset of the weekend, hopefully. So maybe we could be the coupon buster, guys.
They might actually talk about some rest of football and match the day for more than a second. Yeah.
That's it.
That would be lovely.
Definitely. Well, if everyone's enjoyed it, please drop us a like on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. It's free. I think Reese mentioned there's about 50% of you who are watching aren't subscribed. It's free, so subscribe. Turn on notifications and all that stuff to watch all the videos or listen to the podcast wherever you get them. And we'll see you on Sunday for the Liverpool review. Until next time, come on, you Reds.